Let's take a minute and talk about the number one problem in your business right now. Let me guess what it is. I want better clients, but I just don't know where to find them. Very, very common, okay? The underlying belief behind this, and I've heard this from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs, the underlying belief is this. The only reason that I don't have better clients is that I cannot find them. Okay, I just don't know where they are. I don't know how to get in touch with them. Okay, this is often diagnosed as a lead generation problem. Okay, and I want you to stay with me here and buy into this premise that that is not the problem. And you're probably not going to believe me, but hear me out. I have a pretty good track record of helping clients solve this problem. Just a few examples off the top of my head. A client closed $49K of consulting deals in 24 hours last week. Another one of my clients closed a $50,000 website and branding project. Another did $94K for 4 days of work in a market that is considered totally commoditized, okay? But I can keep going, right? Another closed 2 CPG brands for 60 grand. Another one closed a $9,000 a month e-commerce web development retainer. Another one closed a $25K a month full service design retainer, okay? So I hope you get the picture. I do know what I'm talking about. So let me say this clearly. You pretending that this is a lead generation problem is what is keeping you stuck in the business and is keeping you from finding these high price, high value clients. Okay, I promise it is not a lead gen problem. Okay, if you want better clients, it starts with you. You likely already have all of the skills that you need. You're good at what you do, but there is something that is missing. And what's missing is you need to become the person who can handle a high price, high value client. Because let's be honest, right? If a $10,000, $100,000, $1 million client was sitting in front of you right now, you would not even know what to do with them. How do I know that? Well, because you've probably had these clients come across your path already. These are clients with big ass budgets and amazing work that you would love to be involved with. And here's probably what happened. Okay, I could basically simulate exactly what happened. Okay, you met them, you exchanged some emails, you probably got on the phone and you had a great conversation, maybe a second one as well. You sent them a proposal and guess what? They're not your client, right? It didn't work out and you don't really have any idea why until today. Okay, I'm gonna tell you why it didn't work out. And the reason why you're not closing better clients is not because they don't exist. It's not that you can't find them. It's not that you're not talented enough, okay? It's because when those clients come across your path, you're not ready. You do not have the internal capacity to hold that level of client, okay? That means you don't have the positioning, the pricing confidence, the sales conversation skills, and the energetic certainty that makes someone feel safe cutting you a check for 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures. And fake it till you make it is not gonna work. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to show you how to start working on this stuff, and better clients start with a better relationship with yourself. So finding better clients starts not externally, but internally. Finding better clients starts with a better relationship with yourself. And I love this book and I love this quote. We're going to come back to it and talk about it later in the video. But this is from the book, The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, which is by Nathaniel Branden. And he says, we tend to feel most comfortable with people whose self-esteem level resembles our own. And what I see time and time again is the quality of the clients that you have is a direct reflection of your relationship with yourself. And often what I see is that as you level up internally, magically you start to see your clients kind of shift. And to attract better clients, you need to be first the type of person that these higher quality, higher price, higher value clients will want to work with. And I mean this in the most loving way possible, but if you are acting weird, if you're putting out weird vibes, you are going to freak out all the people with money and scare them away. Okay, so clients just tend to be attracted to certainty. And it's actually really logical that they would feel that way, because if they are going to be making an investment, every investment in business or in life has a degree of risk associated with it, okay? Nothing is really ever guaranteed. So clients want to make sure that they're making a good decision. And I'll just give you an exercise, right? Like if you were going to be spending your hard-earned money with someone, who would you be more comfortable trusting your money with? Okay. Person number one, clearly uncomfortable in their skin, acting super awkward, doesn't talk about money, second guessing themselves mid-conversation, getting walked all over, sends a proposal at the end. Or person two, they're calm, they're confident, they discuss the investment like it's the most natural thing in the world, they don't flinch when they're stating their fees, and they just feel comfortable and they're cool to hang out with. All right. The answer is obvious, right? And in business, I love this phrase. We teach people how to treat us. And it's so true. With clients, we teach them how to treat us, how to perceive us through how we show up. Every interaction is another opportunity to demonstrate our expertise, the value of our work, and our character. And every conversation that you have with a client shows them a little bit of that. Okay, that's why this is so important. And it actually gets deeper. We have all of these underlying beliefs about ourselves, about the world, about money, about happiness, about everything, about how everything works. And these beliefs end up becoming your business. And I'll explain exactly what I mean by that. At this point, I have listened to hundreds and hundreds of sales calls. Okay. I've also participated in hundreds of sales calls. But I gotta say, like, listening in on a sales call might be one of the most intimate things that you can eavesdrop on. And because I've been lucky enough to and trusted enough to listen to sales calls from a bunch of my clients that I've worked with, and I've learned a ton from listening in on these conversations. And if you think that your deepest held beliefs, the things that you secretly believe about yourself, about the world, that you can hide them from your clients, let me tell you something. Those beliefs leak out into the conversation. They really do. Your clients can feel your relationship with money. They can sense when you're insecure. And as humans, we are like really good at detecting incongruence and deception. And it's actually really subtle. You don't have to be super smart to do this because our bodies are actually finely tuned vehicles for detecting deception. Okay. Theory is probably it goes back to our days of tribal living where you let someone into the tribe who's being deceptive and it could mean wiping out the whole village. So we have this like sixth sense for when someone is saying something or presenting something and you ever hear someone talk and you're like something's off about this person. Usually it's an incongruence between the things that they're saying and how they're presenting themselves or what you maybe know about them already. Okay, so the point is when someone's words don't match their energy, alarms go off. Your clients won't even necessarily know why they don't want to hire you, but their body, their intuition, their sixth sense, their gut, whatever you want to call it, is letting them know. And then a week later, you send your proposal, they ghost you, and that's the end of it. Okay, so I want to challenge you to think about this and ask yourself this question. What beliefs am I unknowingly transmitting to my clients? Here's some examples. If you don't believe in yourself, what makes you think that a client is going to believe in you? Okay, or even worse, what makes you think that your client is going to believe that you believe in them and their business and their life, right? Okay, here's another one. If you're cheap as shit in your personal life, what makes you think a client is going to buy your expensive thing? Okay, if you've never bought something expensive and you sell expensive shit, there's a massive incongruence there, right? You need to get into that mindset, okay? Here's another one. If you don't really deeply care about your work, right, and you're really just using it as a means to an end to make money, what makes you think a client is going to trust you with their business and their success, especially if they really care about their work, okay? If you wouldn't buy what you sell, if you don't have belief and conviction in the value of your work, why would your clients? And like I said before, if you're not investing in yourself, if you're not investing in your business, why would your clients invest in you, right? So you see how these beliefs leak out into everything. How you frame your offer, how you talk about your offer, your confidence in your voice when you state your fee, whether you justify the price or you just simply say it, how you handle objections, if any objections come up, and just the general energy that you bring to the conversation. because at the end of the day, your client is not buying your work. Okay? They don't really know what's going to happen when they work with you. They have an idea, they have an educated guess, but they're really, more than anything else, in that initial decision, they're buying your certainty about your work. Okay? And it all starts with one of my favorite words, self-esteem. Like I mentioned, Nathaniel Branden, The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. I really think it's essential reading for entrepreneurs. It's a great book. There's so much depth to it. You could read it 100 times and still get something out of it. But the beauty of this book is, even though it's not a book about business, it shows us how every business problem is downstream of these deeply held beliefs that we have about ourselves, our worth, and the world. So I want to share a couple quotes with you that illustrates my point, and hopefully these are beneficial. So first, just self-esteem. What is it? Self-respect is the conviction of our own value. It's not the delusion that we are perfect or superior to everyone else. It's not comparative or competitive at all. It is the conviction that our life and well-being are worth acting to support, protect, and nurture, that we are good and worthwhile and deserving of the respect of others, and that our happiness and personal fulfillment are important enough to work for. That's pretty powerful. And what I see is that entrepreneurs often find their self-esteem is what limits their ability for their business to grow. Because like all the examples that I've showed you, self-esteem, it plays a big role, right? If you show up and you're not confident and you don't feel good in your skin and you're off energetically, clients are just going to make an educated decision to maybe go with someone else, okay? So Nathaniel Branden says, if a self-concept cannot accommodate a given level of success and the self-concept does not change, it is predictable that the person will find ways to self-sabotage. And we see this self-sabotage all the time. I have some other stuff. You can check it out on my Substack. There's an article called Why You're Stuck that goes into this idea of the internal thermostat. And it's this idea that when things either get too good or too bad in all areas of our life, right? Money, happiness, love, fulfillment, our health, we have this internal baseline that we always return back to. So you'll see sometimes like entrepreneurs will make more money than they have in any previous months. And instead of continuing with that momentum, they coast for a couple months and bring themselves back to that equilibrium. Or maybe you've noticed that like if your bank account starts running low, magically you figure out how to get your shit together and make money, even though you don't tend to access that when you feel like things are good, right? That's like the internal thermostat, okay? But what's cool is as your self-esteem improves, generally speaking, you're going to find that things get better in the business. And Nathaniel Branden says there is a continuous feedback loop between our actions in the world and our self-esteem. The level of our self-esteem influences how we act, and how we act influences the level of our self-esteem. So it's a loop and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So to that end, I don't want to just leave you with nothing here. I'm going to leave you with one practice to help you build your self-esteem and self-worth that has been helpful for me. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow you to put yourself in a position when these great clients come across your path, you can actually make them your clients, right? And at the very end, don't worry, I will talk about how to find clients. Okay, we'll get to that. Okay. So this is actually stupidly easy to understand and nearly impossible to master. Okay. So the tool that I'm sharing with you is called Being Your Word. And I learned about this from Steve Hardison. I don't know if he invented it or whatever. It seems like a universal concept, but I learned about it in this book, which I think is called The Ultimate Coach. And here's what Steve Hardison says. Doing what you say you do, being your word, imparts power. Things get done. Efficiency soars. Frustration falls. It's so obvious. It is surprising how frequently people don't do what they say they will do. It is shocking how unaware people are of the discrepancy. And what I love about this tool is it addresses one of the biggest drivers of low self-esteem, which is really a low level of self-trust. And if you can't trust yourself, when you make promises to clients, you're going to feel like you're not comfortable making those promises because you're like, oh, I just like doom scrolled Instagram all day. One of the biggest drivers of low self-esteem is constantly breaking promises to yourself. If you hang yourself out to dry day after day, it starts to eat at you. And I am not immune from this. I know this really well. I've been in long-term recovery from addiction for over 14 years. And this promise to myself was like just every day. Tomorrow, I'll get clean. Tomorrow I'll do things different. And tomorrow never comes. And it was only after I finally got into recovery that I was able to actually build some self-esteem. And it started by making a new promise to myself that one day at a time, we're not going to pick up today. Okay. And over 14 years, I have a lot of momentum and a lot of self-certainty because of the power of that promise. I break promises to myself all the time. I'm by no means an expert or a saint on this, but what I have done successfully is that promise every single day. And I hope to do it going into the future, because at the end of the day, the only relationship that you will have throughout your entire life is the relationship with yourself. And most people would never talk to a partner, talk to a child, or a friend the way that they talk to themselves. And having a great relationship with yourself, where there's actually some trust, starts with not breaking promises to yourself constantly. And like I mentioned, Steve Hardison, he calls it being your word. And this is how you do it. It's really freaking simple, okay? All you do is you do what you say you're going to do every time. Sounds deadly simple, right? But it's actually not easy at all. Here's what Steve Hardison says about this. It's surprising how frequently people don't do what they say they will do. Most people say, let's get lunch on Tuesday, knowing it's not going to happen. They don't even have the intention of making it happen. We live in a world that isn't rigorous about being your word. We let each other off for not being our word. And there is tremendous power in being your word, not only externally, but to yourself. Just think about it. Like, how many promises do you break to others and to yourself on a daily basis? I'm going to take out the trash. I am going to post online today. Let's go out to dinner next weekend, right? Based on Steve's experience working with a bunch of his clients, he said that most people think that they keep their word 90% of the time. But then when they're actually forced to track it, to actually write it down, the result is closer to 20%. And these people are high functioning individuals at the top of their game. Okay. These aren't just like random people off the street. Like the clients that work with Steve Hardison are already quite successful. Okay. So I want to offer you this challenge as a pathway towards becoming the type of person that can work with high value, high price clients. Practice being your word, okay? Keep track of how many times you say you're going to do something to yourself or to others, and then whether you do it or not. Okay, you're going to learn a ton from this. So just to wrap things up, it's time to start building a relationship with yourself, and it's time to believe in yourself. It's really important that you understand that the highest leverage task that you can do in your business is working on yourself, because you will always be the bottleneck in the business. Okay, whether it's focusing on the strategy, whether it's actually doing the work, whether it's hiring, whether it's selling, marketing, communicating, it all comes down to us. I mean, that's one of the coolest things about entrepreneurship. It is such a direct relationship between the humans and the actual external business. Okay, but working on yourself doesn't mean, I want to really hammer this home, becoming someone that you aren't. Okay, you don't need to become this person who you don't know or this character or anything like that. Working on yourself means becoming more of who you are. And I've seen this over and over and over again. Clients, customers, they are attracted to people who are themselves. And we as humans are attracted to people that are authentic, right? Think about your favorite artist, your favorite actor, your favorite athlete. Like literally think about it for a second. Like, who do you like? Like, you know, whoever, Timothy Chalamet, Michael Jordan, you know, like, I don't know, some musician person, Sting. Those are the weirdest examples. Think about them. Why do you admire them, right? Like, what is it about them? It's usually not that they're perfect. All of these people obviously have like flaws, right? And usually they're pretty out there in the open. But we like them because they're themselves. And the same goes for our work, right? Clients really don't need you to be perfect. I don't want you to think for a second that any of this requires you to be perfect. Clients just need you to be you. And the goal is it starts inside, right? Build a powerful and loving relationship with yourself. And then what happens is, because we started this talking about, right, how to charge more money. This is what happens. When you believe in yourself, you have more belief in the work that you do. And when you believe in your work, your clients will believe in the work. And when your clients believe in the work, they pay what it's worth. So just to recap, the whole thesis here, very simple. You do not need to find better clients. You need to find yourself. But you're probably still sitting here asking yourself, okay, that sounds great, but how do I find better clients? Yeah, people think that that's the problem, but you're still curious about it. And listen, if you want to find better clients, you need to remember this. The person who believes in themselves and has a high level of self-trust has the resourcefulness to solve their own problems. Okay? I got to tell you, when you really want something, you go out and you figure it out. Think about any time in the past that you've really wanted something and you managed to pull together a lot of resourcefulness in order to solve a problem. Okay? Just to be clear, there are millions of people who have figured out how to do lead generation. There are millions of people who have figured out how to do networking and getting more referrals and posting content online. Okay? These are just not complicated skills to learn. They are skills to learn for sure, but they are not like magical secrets. But on top of that, right, there are some other more nuanced hard skills that you need to pair it with. Okay? So the foundation is the self-esteem. It's the self-worth, right? And then on top of it, you need to pair it with value-based pricing, sales conversations, expert positioning, and building that conviction in the value of your work. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with this. If you want any of my help on those skills, you can keep watching. Okay? At the beginning of this year, I am launching a new program. It's called How to Charge More. It has one very, very simple outcome. I'm going to teach you how to raise your prices. Okay? And after advising hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs, I've noticed a shocking pattern. Everyone is undercharging. Literally everyone, even entrepreneurs that are very accomplished, 6 figures, 7 figures, but it is never too late to level this up. Okay, so I've been working with clients on this a lot. This is just one piece of the puzzle, and I would love to help you work on the rest of it. So if you're interested in checking this out, it's going to be getting started really soon. There's a link. You can click it. And yeah, I hope to see you in there. If not, what I need you to take away from this is that the reason you don't have the clients that you're looking for is not because you can't find them. Is because you've not reached the level of energetic certainty when they come across your path that you feel convicted to be able to close them and they feel comfortable investing with you. Okay? So start there, check out this exercise, practice it. Okay? Actually take that time, practice being your word. And I'll see you in the next one.